You going to mug me?
Am I going to mug you?
Is that gorgeous or what, eh?
And I believe I can run a decent marathon.
Download Veely now.
In 2009, a young lawyer hiking in Yosemite National Park has a terrifying encounter.
And there he saw this young boy. He described as being Native American, and the man suddenly realized he was seeing a ghost.
This is National Park Secrets and Legends.
Yosemite National Park, the country's most iconic wilderness area. Nearly 1,200 square miles of pristine California backcountry extending along the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Every year, millions are drawn to its magnificent natural splendors, such as the giant ancient sequoias and the granite cliffs of El Capitan. But it's also a place where some believe that dark and malevolent forces roam the landscape and danger lurks in unexpected corners. September 2009, a young attorney is hiking in Yosemite National Park. He arrives at the shore of Grouse Lake at around midday. He's in good shape, and it's been an easy hike. He's surprised when he suddenly feels overwhelmed with fatigue and sits down to rest. It's only a matter of minutes before he falls into a deep sleep.
He believes he slept for maybe 1 to 2 hours when he was jolted awake by what he described as a bizarre scream. He didn't know if it was an animal or a human.
Even more alarming, he has a strange feeling that someone is watching him.
He turned around very slowly, and there he saw this young boy he described as being Native American.
The mysterious youth stares at him in silence. The man can't understand what the boy wants.
But then something else dawned on him. This boy was partially transparent, and the man suddenly realized he was seeing a ghost.
Terrified, the man flees into the forest. But his ordeal is not over.
He heard a voice behind him say, "Come back." This really terrified this man, who headed up the trail as quickly as he could, and he has never returned to Grouse Lake.
Who could this boy be? And what could explain the bizarre, unearthly scream heard that day? In 1857, Galen Clark, America's first park ranger, wrote in his memoirs that while exploring Yosemite, he also heard a strange wailing sound at Grouse Lake. He asked members of the local Native American Miwok tribe what kind of wild animal could make such a sound.
The Miwoks shook their heads knowingly, and they told him no, it was not an animal. It was the spirit that haunts that lake.
The Miwok said the spirit belonged to a young boy who drowned at the lake a long time ago.
And from that time forward, his ghost haunted the area, and anyone who ventured too close to the water would find themselves drugged into the lake, only to be drowned.
Bizarre incidents aren't just taking place within the park's boundaries. They're also occurring in the skies around it. August 21st, 2010, a family is on vacation, driving on Highway 99 west of Yosemite National Park. They're enjoying the scenery when suddenly something unusual interrupts the mood.
The passenger in the rear seat looked out the window, and on the horizon, she saw a craft, an unidentified craft.
It looks like some kind of aircraft hovering above the hillside. It has an unfamiliar shape, and the way it's levitating in the air is unlike anything she has ever seen.
She told the other two passengers, and they pulled over. As they got out of the car, they noticed that it was a triangular-shaped craft, and the craft was flying somewhat erratically.
They watch in amazement as the mysterious vessel loses control and crashes into a hill. The authorities respond quickly. As soon as the sun sets, a massive operation is launched at the crash site.
They appeared to be military vehicle trucks of some sort. There was a lighted area where the crash had been seen, as if lights had been propped up to focus on whatever it was that had crashed. And they heard helicopters as well, landing near where this incident had occurred.
When independent investigators arrive at the site the following morning, they're shocked by what they find. Absolutely nothing. The crash site has been scrubbed clean of all evidence of what happened. No debris, no downed aircraft, no sign of fire damage. It's as if the authorities had never been there at all.
With all of the activity that occurred on the hillside that night, for nothing to be there the following day, that is a telltale signal of some sort of military cover-up.
What could the military have been covering up that night at the crash site? Shockingly, Anthony Sanchez believes that what the family saw was a product of a secret government program to test experimental aircraft using alien technology.
Possibly what this family saw was a test flyover of a nuclear-powered aircraft. This has reverse-engineered alien technology. There's a disruptive magnetic engine which allows it to have electromagnetic propulsion. It's what gives its lift, its ability to hover silently.
Incredibly, the military has had a presence in the vicinity of Yosemite National Park for decades.
200 miles north is Beale Air Force Base, which is the most heavily black-budgeted Air Force installation in the country. And directly south of Yosemite is China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station, which is a test bed of top-secret aircraft.
The military has been active even within the park itself. In 1943, the U.S. Navy leased the Ahwahnee Hotel and converted it into a psychiatric military hospital.
The idea was that the tranquil setting would help the patients heal quicker. However, it didn't quite work out that way.
Instead of getting better, they rapidly deteriorated. No one can explain why. Some believe the patients saw ghosts roaming the park near the hospital, causing them to slip even deeper into madness.
One thing we do know is that the treatment of psychiatric patients was abruptly stopped within just a few months.
What happened to the patients at the Ahwahnee Hotel? Was it just a coincidence, or could there be a sinister reason for their sudden deterioration? An unusual disappearance in 1995 may provide a clue.
She goes missing less than 100 yards from the car and the road. It was as if Jean had simply vanished in thin air.
Yosemite National Park, America's wilderness playground, best known for its magnificent waterfalls and granite cliffs. But in and around its pristine valleys, reports of mysterious flying objects, secret military programs, and a sinister ghost reveal a dark side of this mountain paradise. What can explain this malevolent force that could also be responsible for inexplicable deaths in the area?
Yosemite is known as one of the nation's most dangerous parks. In its recorded history, there have been well over 900 deaths in the park alone.
Many of these fatalities involve cases of strange, sudden disappearances that leave unanswered questions in their wake. July 9th, 1995. 37-year-old Massachusetts businesswoman Jean Hesselschwerdt is visiting Yosemite National Park with her boyfriend, Mike. On the way to Glacier Point, the couple pull over by the side of the road and decide to go for a short walk.
It's a place they thought they could stretch their legs. Mike told Jean he was going to go up to a precipice to do some bird watching. He thought Jean was right behind him. He turned around
Jeannie!
and realized she wasn't there.
At first, Mike isn't worried. He figures Jean must have wandered off on another trail and goes to find her.
He looked for her for about 15 minutes. He talked to one of the park rangers. He questioned several of the tourists.
But no one has seen her. Jamie? With growing alarm, Mike realizes something must have happened to Jean.
Within 45 minutes, a team was assembled and was scouring the area. Within 2 hours, helicopters were up in the air.
Searchers combed through 40 square miles of park territory without success. By the time the search is finally called off, authorities have found no clues to what happened to Jean Hesselschwert. Her disappearance is a complete mystery. Then, 2 months later, a gruesome discovery is made.
Jean Hesselschwert's body was found in Brideville Creek, about 3/4 of a mile up from the Brideville Fall.
But the mystery of Jean's disappearance is far from solved. Most puzzling of all, the odd location where her body was found, far from the trails used by park visitors.
How did she end up in such a remote terrain? Places where mountaineers and rock climbers and only those fishermen who are very familiar would ever dare go. How did she get there?
The case of Jean Hesselschwert's disappearance is filled with unanswered questions. But her story is not unique. There have been other cases of mysterious disappearances in the park, but shockingly, human remains are rarely found.
You should be able to find a body and recover it easily. But a lot of times this is not the case. Why is it here at Yosemite that so many people seem to disappear without a clue?
One theory that could explain the disappearances comes from the native Almanichi. They believe a malevolent spirit known as the Pohono Wind could be responsible for many deaths.
This spirit roughly translates as the spirit of the evil wind, is known to lure people into the mist, compelling them to come closer and closer until they're just close enough that the wind rises up and pushes them to their deaths.
The Almanichi themselves are so terrified of the evil wind spirit, they stay well away from Yosemite's famous waterfalls. While the Pohono Wind could explain some disappearances in the park, it's claimed there could be an even more terrifying explanation.
And the eyewitnesses describe it as being a very large creature.
Look!
They called it a dragon.
Yosemite National Park, a jewel of nature set within California's majestic Sierra Nevada mountains. Few venture beyond the 7 square miles of Yosemite Valley, but some of those that do claim to discover a land of dark forces, where a malevolent wind called Pohono may be responsible for a series of mysterious disappearances. But others believe there could be another, even more shocking force at work. February 2013, on the outskirts of Yosemite, as 2 young men approach their car, they're startled by a loud screeching sound in the sky.
Look!
But when they look up, they're shocked to see a creature unlike anything they've ever seen.
The body was about the size of a Doberman Pinscher. It has a long tail, we described as dark color, and it has a long neck, a long pointed head crest, which is like a cone coming out the back of the head.
It appears to be half bird, half lizard, like something out of a nightmare. To their horror, the creature seems to have seen the 2 men. It swoops around and heads directly for them. Then, just as suddenly, it veers off. They watch it as it heads for the distant peaks of the Sierra Nevada mountains.
They were shocked by it, started talking to people, and found that somebody had seen the same animal flying through that same park just days earlier.
What did the men see that day near Yosemite National Park? Researcher Jonathan Whitcomb has a shocking theory. He believes it's a pterodactyl, a prehistoric flying dinosaur that once roamed the skies 50 million years ago.
We believe that they are actually animals thought to be extinct but actually still live. Yosemite has vast wilderness areas, and there's countless places where it could be hiding.
Could the presence of these flying predators have something to do with the pattern of disappearances in Yosemite? Whitcomb believes a pterodactyl attack is consistent with the evidence surrounding one of the most notorious disappearances in the park, the Gene Hesselschwerdt case.
When they eventually found her, she was a long distance down the mountain in a place that doesn't make sense unless you consider the possibility it might have been one of these attacks from these large flying creatures.
Other disappearances in the park have also involved bodies inexplicably ending up at different elevations, like the case of a 12-year-old boy who went missing while hiking with his parents.
His body was found over 1,400 feet higher in elevation than where he disappeared. This in itself is unusual because most hikers, most people who are lost, tend to go downhill.
Other possible evidence of a link to pterodactyls is the fact that in each of these cases, search dogs tracked the missing person for a short distance until they suddenly lost the scent.
What happens is the person is dragged perhaps for a short distance by the creature, and the creature eventually gets the person up into the air. Then the dogs can't track it any further.
How could pterodactyls that should have been extinct for millions of years come to be roaming the skies over Yosemite National Park?
We don't know really exactly what's going on. There's so much that we don't know about them.
What could account for prehistoric animals attacking and killing visitors in the area? Some believe the answer may lie in a bizarre incident that took place 2 decades earlier.
Time seems to be slowing down, but if you'd been watching Christy at the time that she went into this, you might have seen her vanish.
A series of unexplained deaths and disappearances in the lush valleys of Yosemite National Park are being blamed on an evil spirit wind known as the Pohono. Others claim an even more perplexing force is behind these disturbing events. Prehistoric pterodactyls attacking and carrying away victims. If true, what could explain the existence of these long extinct creatures in the park? 1995. After a long day hiking in Yosemite Valley, a young girl named Christy, along with her family, stopped for ice cream at an outdoor cafe. But then she senses something she cannot explain, something strange. It's as if the very fabric of reality is shifting before her eyes.
Time around her seems to be slowing down. She gets separated from her family. She calls for help, but no help arrives.
Trapped in this bizarre alternate reality, Christy doesn't know what to do. It's as if she somehow left her own world and can't find her way back.
She feels she's in some unusual place and time, and for some reason there's more people there than she feels there should be.
And then, as suddenly as it began, her bizarre ordeal is over.
The circumstances, the environment changes back to normal. She's able to reconnect with her family.
What happened to Christy that day in Yosemite National Park? Was her experience real or a momentary hallucination? Some believe that what Christy experienced was a tear in the fabric of time, called a time slip.
This is a moment when there's a brief interface between the past and the present. And during this time, witnesses can have very unusual experiences.
It's believed a time slip occurs when there are fluctuations in the space-time continuum. and these seem to occur with great strength at Yosemite National Park.
These fluctuations and variations at Yosemite create a kind of anomaly in the timeline, so that it's possible that people or creatures from the past could accidentally slip through, creating a time slip experience.
Could these time slips be powerful enough to allow creatures from prehistory to travel through time and reappear in the present?
The time slip in Yosemite would explain the appearance of pterodactyls. Sightings of unusual creatures are common at these electromagnetic vortexes.
Some believe time slips could also be behind other bizarre phenomena, like the malevolent Pohono wind that's blamed for unexplained deaths, and ghostly apparitions seen by visitors.
There's a dimensional time shift here. That ghosts are coming in and out of different time periods because of the vortexes that might be present.
A time slip could well explain this because it's a moment when we have a blend of both of those portions of time.
Yosemite National Park will remain a unique place where its claimed entities from the prehistoric past coexist with the present in mysterious and troubling ways. Much remains to be learned about the mechanisms behind these strange activities. But what is not in doubt is the intense fascination the park holds for anyone who visits it.
The experience of seeing Yosemite is almost indescribable and unimaginable. It's so awesome, so impressive, and such magnificent scale that it puts you into a kind of expanded state of consciousness.
I had to use one word to describe Yosemite. I think I would say compelling. But it's hard to encompass everything about this park in one simple word. It's beautiful, it's breathtaking, it's mysterious, and it's dangerous.